But I mean, I think our sweet spot for a fix and flip, we're buying the house between $800 and $1 million. We're renovating it for $250,000. All of these houses are full gut renos that we do, between $250,000 and $300,000, and we'll sell between 1.9 and 2.2 million. And that's a very average deal for us. Yeah.
And is that the average kind of price in Hawaii for a renovated house, or what's that seems expensive to me? Listen, everybody, we all know that real estate is the most proven way to build wealth. But why isn't everyone wealthy from real estate then? It's hard to know where to start, and most of the education out there is just complete trash, and you end up investing your money on a series of courses instead of in real estate. That's not how this podcast works. We give you the blueprint to successful real estate investing and bring on guests actually willing to share their secrets. I started my real estate investing journey as a freshman in college when I bought my first duplex and have been in the trenches doing deals ever since. And today, I now own hundreds of millions of dollars of investment property. On this podcast, you will learn what you actually need to know to be a successful active or passive real estate investor. And we'll offer our takes on what's happening today so you can navigate this market and build wealth. I'm Drew Breneman, and this is the Breneman Blueprint. All right, welcome to a special Hawaii edition of the Breneman Blueprint. With me today is Tristyn and Kamohai.
Nailed it.
Yeah, Kamohai said it's usually on the fifth time you get it, but maybe if you teach them to write your name in your phone phonetically,
Right? Then they'll get it first try.
The first day. So
Love that.
But great, yeah. Their company's TK Property Solutions, and they invest in Hawaii and do single family fix and flip deals, as they call them. So
Yeah.
But so yeah, I'm in Hawaii. I'm here for my girlfriend's stepbrother's wedding. So, and then we use the same video editor. So I just jumped on their podcast, the Deals in Aloha podcast, and so we're here shooting a Breneman Blueprint one. So.
Love it.
Deals in Aloha version.
Fun times, yeah. When I looked up where you guys were at, we just did the Pillbox hype a couple days ago, and then we're at that beach. I had already told you, I want to start with the W.
Waimanalo.
Yeah.
That's been probably the best beach I've gone to in Hawaii.
It's beautiful.
Dude,
it's
Windward
so
side is
nice.
the best side.
Yeah. It's so nice over there.
But I think when you go more west, it's rockier, right? Like Sunset Beach and all that.
Yep. Well, when you go that way, it gets rocky and the surf gets huge.
Big, yeah. Yeah, I still remember first Hawaiian island I went to was Maui, and then we went to Mama's Fish House, and then seeing the waves there.
Gnarly.
And the North
Wild.
Shore there. I was like, wow, that was in November. I don't know when the
biggest
waves are.
That's when it's big.
That's
Wintertime.
when it's huge,
Yeah,
I was like,
wintertime.
this is scary. Where are the...
Is that when they held the Eddy?
They hold the Eddy at Waimea Bay.
I know, but like, when do they hold it?
They only hold the Eddy when it's a certain size.
And they held it like recently.
They did hold it recently, but then like it's sometimes it's like every 8 years because it doesn't
is
meet.
what is a special surf
big
competition.
Yeah, big wave surf contest.
Waves. Yeah. So I don't know. That just reminded me of that.
I heard, and then we'll get to the real estate after this. I did a helicopter tour yesterday.
Oh, nice.
And they, the guy said when they did a competition, maybe it was Eddie, that the lifeguard jumped in and won.
He won.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was the Eddy.
That's the Eddy?
That was the Eddy. Yeah.
It's like his pro surfers, but then the lifeguard was
The lifeguard jumped
got
in
there and won.
Yeah.
Love that.
That was the Eddy this past year.
Yeah.
Super cool.
But yeah, then I know, Kamohai, you've lived in Hawaii your whole life, and then did you also?
Yep. Born and raised.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you guys maybe just tell us how you got started investing in real estate.
Yep. Okay.
So I drug us into real estate. But to back up, before that, so he and I have both been entrepreneurs basically our whole lives. My family has always been entrepreneurial by nature. And so I, straight out of college, got into the nonprofit sector. And so I owned and operated a nonprofit. I'm a licensed mental health counselor by trade. Before real estate, that's what I did. And so I built that from the ground up. But then we had kids. We had our daughter. And I was like, this truly is nonprofit and it's expensive to live here in Hawaii. And so I was searching for more, but real estate was always kind of in my family. So I grew up seeing it. My great grandfather acquired a lot of land. I saw how he was able to help my grandma with houses. and just how it was an accumulation of wealth over time. And my dad, he owned a commercial building. I'm like, I need to know more about this real estate thing. And so I saw a commercial on TV sitting on one of our rentals back in the day. I think that was like 7 years ago, for Fortune Builders, their real estate mentorship
Education company
out of San Diego. And I was like, we're going. Like, we don't have a choice. We're going. And that's kind of how real estate started. But he owned and operated retail stores.
Right. I was like an action sports kid. So I was like the kid slanging T-shirts to all my friends in my neighborhood.
Nice.
And so very early on, we got into like branding. My brother and I started a brand like 13 years ago. It turned into one store and then another store and then another store. So we had 3 stores. One was in Kailua here, and then Ala Moana Shopping Center. I don't know if you've been there.
Because that's the big one.
That's
right?
a huge
Okay,
mall, yeah. And then we had our home base in San Diego. But that was really like, I was a bachelor, didn't make a ton of money, paid our employees and survived, but got married, had my first kid, and she really was like, "Hey, you got to get a real job," and dragged me to that seminar. I was so skeptical, dude. I was the guy that was like,
"This is a scam."
We're 80 grand in debt at the time, and yeah, there's no way I can buy houses without any of my own money. Like, it's so expensive here.
Flip them and $1 million price points and actually make money.
Yeah. So she dragged me. Something switched in my brain when I was there, and that's how it started.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what happened at the Fortune Builder event then? It was just sort of being around all those people or hearing the speakers, or how did that?
I think what was game changing for me, I was willing to do whatever it took. I'm like, these people say it's possible. I'm just going to blindly and naively believe them. But I think what really solidified it, that it was real, was seeing local people. They brought local people that had done it already, joined the program and had success, come on stage and be like, this is what I've done. This is how I've done it. I'm like, oh, he's from here. He's doing it here. It's possible.
Local to where?
Local to Hawaii.
Hawaii.
Local to
Oh, really?
Oahu.
And that's literally what it was. It was because I'd heard of real estate stuff before. I heard of like these types of things, but it was people telling me that they were doing it in the mainland.
Right.
And so when I saw a local guy that looked like me up on stage and he did his presentation and he was like, I'm working on 7 houses right now. I've been doing it for this many years.
I'm making this much.
Yeah, there was a connection there. And so,
And that event was in San Diego?
No,
that was here.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That's why I was like, when it's local, I'm like,
Yeah.
So someone in California? Okay, that
It
makes
was
sense.
here.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, I've heard of Fortune Builders. I heard them. I think one of the founders on a podcast was very interesting.
Dan Merrill is one of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just listened to this in 2020. I remember
Yeah.
I was cleaning the house, and I remember
Yeah.
Pretty
cool.
I remember vacuuming the stairs and listening to this. But that was but nice. So then what did you guys do next then?
Yeah.
So you went to that, and then
So
what
we
happened?
actually didn't even sign up for the event, that 3-day seminar. We left not signing up. And I was bummed because I was ready to sell my kid. Like, I was ready to do something.
It was one of those upsell things, right? So you go for $200. At the end of the 3rd day, you buy a $50,000 mentorship.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
50?
yeah.
Well, they had different packages, and one of them was up to $100,000. And I was like, I mean, we can't afford that one, but we can do the $20,000 one. You know what I mean? But he was like, "You're crazy." No, like, he was like, put his foot down and said no. And so I was bummed, and I was like, well, what are we going to do? Unbeknownst to me, he was making phone calls to Fortune Builders saying, like, what other packages do you have? Because I'm not doing any of these 3. Do you have a cheaper option? And he ended up getting us, I think it was called Jumpstart. I don't remember the exact, but it was 6 months and it was like half the price. I think it was like $10,000 or $12,000. So he was like negotiating already, you know?
Nice.
And so we just went down that rabbit hole, and Fortune Builders puts a heavy emphasis on fix and flip. So they taught us how to do that really, really well. And we honestly, the first year, I would say, it was a lot of analysis paralysis. He was still doing his retail stores. I was still building my nonprofit. But then once the retail stores closed down, because brick and mortar is just really hard, we went all in and we just started making offers on the MLS. I sat down, I called up one of my family friends who was a realtor, and I said, hey, we want to buy fixer uppers and we want to sell them for a profit. And she was like, okay. So she started sending us deals off the MLS, and we just started making offers. I remember one day we lined up, like, this is when we would have to go see them because we were new. We didn't know what we
No
were
construction
doing.
experience, no
like we
nothing.
wanted to walk every property that we were going to put an offer in on.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's smart. You should do that when you're first starting.
Yeah.
And we lined up like 10 in one day. And it was like, we were on the 10th house. We were done for the day. It was nighttime already. Put in an offer. That's the one we ended up getting. The one that was the last house.
Yeah.
I think after like 6 months of putting in offers.
Yeah, it was like 6 or 7 months of putting in offers.
So then we got that house, learned about hard money really quick, learned about private money really quick. I flipped that house and learned a lot.
I say we got our master's degree in flipping on our very first house, and we underestimated our rehab cost. We didn't even account for some foundation, not some, but $40,000 foundation repair.
Wow.
Yeah.
We hired the wrong contractor. We went way over time. So everything that we could have done wrong, we did wrong on that first house.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we're a glutton for punishment, and we ended up getting another house under contract while we were renovating our first house. But I wouldn't change anything, honestly, because we learned so much and we learned what not to do. We always go back and we're like, oh, if we made $100,000 on our first deal, like we would have gotten spoiled, and thinking that, oh, it's this easy, because real estate is not easy,
Well, it's that, and then we would have learned the lessons eventually.
Yeah.
I'm
And
just thinking that.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and maybe we got ourselves into an even bigger issue then because we had all this false confidence and it put us out of business. You know what I mean? So
No, that's interesting. That's similar. So then, like, for someone starting out, what would be your advice then?
Yeah.
And if they go back to that same point,
Yeah.
would it just be just get going on a deal? Because then you're talking analysis paralysis, and you learn more doing.
from doing.
Or what would be the advice?
I think two things. It's definitely learning. So laying a foundation of education, because although it cost us money to join Fortune Builders, it taught us how to underwrite deals really, really well. So we never have bought to date a bad deal ever.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Because that laid that foundation and solidified it. So get educated on what you're trying to do. And then what I always say to everyone is I wish we partnered with an experienced investor on our first deal, because we could have mitigated a lot of the mistakes that we made.
Okay, yeah, because then they would have looked at your underwriting or underwrote themselves and been like, this is too low. There's no contingency for something like a foundation.
exactly.
All your timelines are too quick.
Yep.
And we probably could have made money on that deal if we partnered.
The good thing about our first deal was that we bought it right. And I think a lot of people, we talk about this, like you make your money on the buy. And we bought the deal right. So even though all those things went wrong, we didn't lose money on the deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think we made 15 grand,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
But
Which is good on your first deal.
But we could have lost, a lot if we had bought the property for too much money. So I think it's also that. It's like, okay, the education paired with action, like make sure you're taking action, because a lot of people just get stuck in the education phase like we did. But then, yeah, if we could have just leveraged somebody else that had construction experience, that had some, deals under their belt, we would have made probably 100 grand on that house.
yeah.
Yeah, just bought it better and
yeah.
done things better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because then what do have you guys partnered with people since? Or
Totally.
Okay.
Yep.
Totally, yeah.
100%. So the next one we bought, because it was like halfway through our first one, we hadn't really like learned any
The
lessons
lessons
yet.
weren't kicking in
okay.
yet.
Yeah.
You know what I
So
mean?
You didn't realize
we used this-
how far behind schedule you
Dude,
were.
exactly. So
Yeah.
we used the same contractor who ended up walking off with 30 grand of our money on the second one halfway through. And that deal, we did learn some things. Like I think we did a better job on that deal for sure.
Yeah.
But we didn't walk away making very much money at all.
Yeah.
I think it was
It wasn't until our third deal that we actually got a taste of what it was to make money. And we
Right.
made like 40 grand, which is still great. It's still good money, but we just kept going. And now today we do between 25 and 30 deals a year, and we make over $1 million. So we do well, but we always knew that we were flipping to buy rentals, because flipping is a job.
Right.
It's a full-time, high stress, high risk field. And accumulation of wealth is usually through real estate, through holding the property.
Yeah, long term.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, cash flow, paying the loan down, letting it go up in value.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, when did it feel like, okay, we know what we're doing? At what point did that kind of...
Yeah, I think it was the third one, and then our third one into our like next 4. So like on the third one, we did the renovation in 1 month. We were in and out of the property in like 78 days, and we made 40 grand. And it was like, boom, like proof of concept.
We do know what we're doing.
Okay, we have like, we know that if we put the right pieces to the puzzle in place and we have the right team members, then there is potential to make money here. And then after that deal, we actually joined another mentorship, and that mentorship really changed our lives.
Yeah.
It was Pace Marby's sub 2 mentorship, and it was a community. It was right when he first started it. I think we're like one of the first 200 students that he had. But anyway, Pace taught us that we're actually sales and marketing, and real estate is a byproduct of what our sales and marketing does. Prior to that, we're just buying everything off the MLS on market. So we joined the mentorship, like went through it. We're doing the thing, started implementing a ton of different marketing strategies. I built out our whole marketing side of the business, and we went from 3 deals that first and second year to the very next year doing 17 deals, and none of them were on market, just all direct to seller off market. And I think that's really where things started to change.
Yeah. So definitely going direct to seller and understanding marketing was the game changing for us. But in addition, it was figuring out our roles, because we are a husband and wife team, and that's complicated. Also being entrepreneurs and running our own businesses prior to coming into business together was super challenging. We were both trying to do the same thing. We would get a deal, all marketing would stop. And so once we read the book Rocket Fuel and learned the visionary and the integrator roles and dynamics, and really just settled into those seats, that's when our business truly started taking off. Marketing and understanding roles, game changing.
Oh, it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Is Rocket Fuel one of the EOS books? It's just not the entrepreneur operating system, or is that?
No. Is it?
Traction is
Traction
EOS.
is EOS.
Yeah.
Right. So
I think they use the same term.
Rocket-
Integrator.
They do.
integrator.
Rocket
do.
Fuel is the precursor to Traction.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Got it.
Same author, Rocket Fuel, and then Traction. So exactly the same.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cool thing about the visionary integrator that we realize is that both of us actually fall more on the visionary scale. But what we learned from that book is that it's necessary to have both roles in a successful business. Like Disney. Well,
McDonald's.
everyone knows Walt Disney, but there's an integrator behind Walt. You know what I mean? So oftentimes visionaries are the ones that are out in the forefront, like the face of the company. The integrators behind making sure the company
Company's
runs,
actually
you know?
running.
Yeah.
And so what we did realize is that I have 0 integrator qualities. Like I suck at anything integrator. But I love like ideas and like pushing forward and that kind of thing. She loved that as well, but she actually was good at some of the integrator stuff. And so she morphed into that role over the years. We've hired
I was reluctant though,
Yeah.
right? Because I was coming from my own entrepreneurship, being the boss, being the visionary. But now I'm super comfortable in that space and building a team around me that helps me keep all the systems in place. I like being behind the scenes, although I can't be really today because of what we've signed up for. But
Yeah.
he can go out and talk to anybody about anything at any time. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that.
No. That kind of stuff brings me energy. You know, like I'll go to like a meetup and like just talk story with people. I leave and I'm like, okay, let's go run through a wall. Like I'm ready to go. It's like, it brings me joy and energy.
I had to
She
go
leaves
sleep
and
for 2
she needs
days.
to sleep.
Drained.
Yeah.
Yeah. She feels drained.
See,
Yeah.
so you're more like me,
Yeah.
where you can turn it on, you can do it, but then it's like, okay, I need to go be alone, recoup, you know?
Yeah, I think my pattern definitely more visionary, but then not as social as you.
Yeah.
That I'm, I would be more tired.
Yeah, from our conversation, because we did just interview you, I would say you're definitely visionary, like way
totally.
visionary. Like
You're probably like me on the scale because you can even take tests where you're like, are you more visionary? Are you more integrator? And I'm right in the middle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're probably right in the middle too.
Yeah, when I've done those things, I end up on a visionary thing,
Yeah.
but then I'm also methodical, so then I can do the execution stuff, but not fast like someone who would also be quick and then naturally like that. But then that's how I've
See, that's
done stuff.
me.
Is then
that is.
Totally
You sound
me.
like her.
but it's not as fast as the people who are.
And you don't like love doing it, but you'll do it. Like you enjoy it enough, you know?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
But then I do enjoy like when it goes well, obviously.
Yeah.
So there is enjoyment.
Yeah.
How did you build up the marketing? You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, man, I'm a very like, give me a blueprint and I'll follow it. And so a lot of the marketing strategies that Pace taught were ones that have been taught forever in the real estate space. But in the beginning, because it was just Tris and I, and we weren't making a ton of money, it was very bootstrap. Like it was me full time sitting in a room and figuring the marketing out. And so the strategy that we landed on was texting. And at the time, texting was a lot less regulated. It's gotten a lot harder to do now, but basically cold texting. And so I sat in a room, I got my texting software together, and I sent out 1,000 text messages a day to just cold text. Hey, have you ever thought about selling your house for cash? And I did that for 3 months straight, and I just would lock myself in my room and do it. And no like CRM, no systems. I was using like this list software to kind of house all my data and text out of. But I got 3 deals from those first 3 months from that texting.
Nice.
And so when we started making some money, I'd pour some more money into marketing. We got really, really good at texting. Most of our deals that year came from texting, the 17. And we added on another strategy. So first I hired someone to do the texting. And then we added on cold calling. And then we added another cold caller. And now our marketing, we got a good CRM. Like we're using a more in-depth CRM with automations and everything. So now we do PPC. So we do Google Ads. We still text, we still cold call, and we do a little bit of direct mail. And I have 5 people on the marketing team. So 4 of them are VAs and then 1 in-house lead manager. Everything flows from the VAs into our CRM. Then our lead manager will triage and assess more. And then I'm still going out on all the appointments face to face. So that's kind of what it looks like.
And so the 4 VAs, 2 are calling and some are texting, or
yes. Yep. So 1 is texting full time, and then the other ones are calling.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
And then what CRM do you use at this point?
We use a built out Podio. It's called Bomb CRM. It's actually one that Pace and Cody Barton built out.
Okay, nice.
But it's a fairly robust Podio system. But yeah, most people are familiar with Podio. So
yeah, I mean, most of the CRMs I hear of, it's either just the company's got like it's this one, or it's a Salesforce product. So
yep,
Right.
Salesforce.
Podio is a Salesforce product, or that's something like Salesforce.
It's something like Salesforce. Salesforce, I would say, is like Podio on steroids. They have a lot more a lot more
Like customization.
customizations, right? And it's for bigger businesses, I would say.
Yeah.
I say Podio is like the baby step before Salesforce.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
I mean, Salesforce is expensive and
Super
Yeah.
expensive.
It's not easy to use from what I've saw. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Podio's super simple. I mean, we house all our leads in there. We have like a ton of follow-up automations in there. We can send out contracts, DocuSigns, all our cash buyers we can house in there. So it's a pretty robust system, but fairly easy to use as well.
Okay, nice. But yeah, so I love the starting out stories.
Yep.
At this point, what was the most fun part of this process so far, would you say?
I think it was probably different for both of us.
What's yours?
I mean, so when we kind of figured out the roles, that literally changed our business. And the role that I went into was my job is to just find deals. Like we understood that without deals, you have no business, right? And so building that out was very, very enjoyable for me. And then I also realized that I freaking love people and I love solving problems. And so it fit perfectly with who I was as a person, just getting to talk to these homeowners. And a lot of these homeowners are people that have some major, major issues. I was able to be that solution while at the same time bringing in money for my family. I thought I hit the jackpot. I was like, real estate is what I was born to do.
Yeah.
And so that for sure was like the most enjoyable part for me.
I would second that. I think coming from a helping background in behavioral health, but then barely scraping by, and then finding this passion in real estate where I could actually live the life that I wanted and provide for my family. And then also help people that are in distress. It's a beautiful thing. I thought I won the jackpot too with that. But then there's nothing like, I think the most memorable moment, well, there's two. The first one was actually making our first six figures. And I think it was a house in IAM. We made over $300,000 and we paid off all of our debt. And for the first time being debt free and then being able to pour back into our business and also like make money, and a six-figure income was amazing. And then getting our first seller finance rental that brings in, $1,000 to $2,000 a month was game changing. I'm like, why is everyone not doing real estate? Like what is wrong with people, So
Because it's too good to be true. That's
Right?
yeah.
Totally.
For sure.
So that's what one of my friends said, because he was working as a banker and I was explaining what I was doing. He's like, I thought it was too good to be true,
Yeah.
but it was true.
It
Yeah,
was true.
100%.
I know we had a lot of that too when we were getting started, just like very skeptical from the outside, especially in Hawaii. I don't know why. It's just like
Our
something.
culture is very humble. It's
Yeah.
very blue collar. It's very you work, and you'll get a job.
So we got a lot of what you're doing is like illegal. Or you must be skirting the system somehow. It's not on the up and up,
Or
you know?
you need real estate is something you do as a hobby. You go and you get a W-2 and you get a good job and you stay there and you do real estate on the side. And we were like, nope, I can't do that. We're gonna make this a career.
We got a taste of it and we're like, how is not everybody doing this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And we're gonna do it full time and we're gonna take it to a level that no one's seen in Hawaii. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting hearing, what your favorite part was. Because I mean, for me, a lot of my favorite times was those first successes, like at the next level. So I was thinking probably you'd say like maybe the first or second time you got someone, you sent out 90,000 text messages in 3 months.
Yeah.
Then like it was when those 3 deals came in, that was the peak of life at this point.
100%.
Yeah, this is actually working. And
I still remember the first lady who responded. We actually own the condos still
to this day
that we bought from her. And she was an older lady in Vegas who owned 2 condos in Waikiki.
Nice.
And she said, yes, she wants to sell. And I am getting chicken skin now thinking of it, but that moment was a big changing point. I remember I after I figured it out and like, okay, we had like a verbal acceptance, I got out of my room, ran over to her, and I was like, it works. Like it does work, you know?
Because we were spending money on marketing, money that we didn't have. You know what I mean? So it was like, this has to work. Like we do not have a plan B.
Yeah. And so we ended up keeping those. We bought each one for $98,000 and refinanced them. They appraised
put 20,000 into them.
Yeah, they appraised at 205 each. So we bought them at 50% of value, and yeah, we hope we still have those
ever since.
Yeah, still have those.
And those you rented out.
Yeah, so those are long term. They're both Section 8 renters. Stable is great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because mostly your business today, it's where you buy, you renovate, you sell.
Yeah.
How many rental units do you have like that?
So with rentals, we have a portfolio of 30 doors. Oahu, the Big Island, and then Florida.
Okay,
Yes.
nice.
That doesn't include the 22 we're under contract for. So hopefully that pans out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like our goal was like we're very like lifestyle focused. So like I don't have a yearning to own like a
bajillion
right
doors,
like a
no.
bajillion doors. Like I want super quality and things that are gonna allow me to spend more time with my family. My kids are like our kids are our whole life, right? And
They're at a very developmental, important age where, you know, we can't get these years back. You know, you have a child.
Yeah.
You know, you can't get this time back. And so we're really about building our business around our life, not our life around our business, you know, and really lifestyle by design. And we've never been quantity. We're always quality over quantity, especially with our fix and flips too. That's why we only do, you know, well, there's people that do 100 flips a year. We will never do 100 flips a year. I have no desire. I'm very comfortable between 25 and 30. And the funny part is we make the same amount as that person that does 100 flips a year. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, they're taking more marginal deals, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which goes down to your buy box. Like, I mean, he can talk about our average deal here.
Yeah.
In Hawaii.
I think right before that though, like the goal, it was really, okay, we're going to bring in income, but we want more passive stuff. So all of the money that we make, I mean, obviously we live and survive off it, but it goes into rentals somehow. Like that's the end goal is. So like we were talking about multifamily earlier, that's the trajectory that we're moving towards.
I don't know. I'll always buy like a 5K down sub 2 deal that'll cash flow $600 though.
Yeah, creative stuff for sure. But I mean, I think our sweet spot for a fix and flip, we're buying the house between $800 and $1 million. We're renovating it for $250,000. All of these houses are full gut renos that we do. Between $250,000 and $300,000, and we'll sell between 1.9 and 2.2 million. And that's a very average deal for us. Yeah.
And is that the average kind of price in Hawaii for a renovated house, or what's that seems expensive to me?
I know.
Yeah.
So
it is. It's very expensive, but
yeah. So just like every other market, there's sub markets that have different price points. So like here on the windward side, that's a fairly average price. In Kahala or Aina, that's also a fairly average price. But if you go out to like the west side, Waianae, Eva Beach, Kapolei, Makakilo, that would be a very expensive house out there. Those price points, you can get totally renovated houses for like $850, $900, but they're small, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot. But for here, that's a fairly normal price. Our median home price in Hawaii is right around $1.1 million. So that kind of helps give a little perspective, because most people say you're buying a full gut renovation at $900,000. Like you're crazy,
it's a great
right?
Deal.
Yeah. But those are just normalized numbers for us. We just don't know anything else.
In the numbers you're saying, this is for all of the islands on average, or just Oahu?
So Oahu's the most populated, I would say I would say very Oahu specific. There are some other islands that are similar. Maui has some areas that are like that. Kauai also has some areas that are like that. But I would say more on Oahu specific for that, for those exact numbers.
We only flip on Oahu. We haven't flipped out of on any other island.
Okay, nice. But yeah, I think I saw somewhere you guys had a rental on the Big Island.
We actually have a small portfolio up there. We have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 doors up there.
Okay, yeah. I saw it was a video. I couldn't hear the sound because it was loud, but it's like a house blessing. What was?
Oh, okay, yeah.
What is that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, man, that's a cool property. I mean, that one we can talk about that real quick, and we'll go into the blessings. But that is on the Big Island, and we bought it creatively. So it was subject to, we took over the loan and we created a second note for the seller for the equity, a seller finance a piece. But it's 2 TMK, so 2 lots. Each are a 1/4 acre, and there's 3 houses on the lot. That is in a legal short-term area. So we Airbnb all 3 of those houses, and they bring in roughly, I don't know, 15 grand gross a month for just 3 houses. Yeah. And so that you saw was actually my father blessing the property. And that's one piece that we bring in on every single project we do here.
So a house is never done until it's blessed. And we do that because for a majority of people, a home purchase is the most expensive purchase they'll ever make. And usually it's one time in their life, right? And so we believe a home is a place that's almost spiritual. It's a safekeeping. It's where dreams are made. It's where memories are created. It's where you feel safe and secure. It's where you raise kids. And so we're buying properties that come with a lot of history. They're very distressed. I mean, we've bought houses with trees growing out of the roofs. I mean, so coming in and cleansing a space and making it so a family walks in there and feels the, I want to say mana, but like the power and the peace and the work that was put into it is really what it's all about. So the property is not done until it's blessed. So.
Yeah, and then my dad's really cool. He because our family has been here for generations. We're native Hawaiian. My dad just has a ton of information about every specific place on the island, right? The history of our people in that specific place. So when he will come in, he'll actually do some research and he tells us stories about that place. And it's really cool just to know a little bit more about the area. And then, he normally sings a song. And once that's done, we look at each other and we're like, okay, it's ready to be sold.
Yeah. It gives meaning, it gives more meaning to what we did at that place.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then is that something that's commonly done in Hawaii, or that's...
I think house blessings or blessings of new businesses, or it's common. Do a lot of investors do it? I don't know. I want to say no, but it's definitely something that we have incorporated into every day. Yeah, I don't know if a lot, I know that like businesses and stuff, it's very, very custom to have a business blessed or that kind of a thing. And I know that house blessings happen, but I don't know if like like she said, a ton of other investors do it. But I mean, it's just something that is important to us. And I feel like when the new buyers come in, they deserve and can feel that. And it's kind of cool all the way around. Well, I also think that, so back to Fortune Builders teaches you to systematize your flips. And I get why they do it, because it's really the only way to scale. So you use the same materials in every house. You're in and out as quickly as possible. We don't do that. Every house we do is super different. It's super custom. It's super to price point. And so you'll never see us do the same thing in any renovation. So I think it makes our business special because it's almost like we've created a little brand for ourselves. So like, oh, what is Tristyn and Kamohai going to do next with their houses? You know what I mean? So having the blessing component only kind of matches what we do with the houses and the designs and the renovations.
Right, where they don't just feel like a flip. Like this is really
Never.
like a $2 million house. So this might be
Exactly.
like a custom house.
I'm like, we need to make
100%.
all these houses feel like what people could get on the mainland. Like, let's bring HGTV to Hawaii so they feel, you know, I feel like Hawaii people deserve that. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so you guys you got your show. You wanna?
Yeah.
We have a show. Can't say too much about it, but yep, we're filming season 1 right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's going to be wild.
Because it's funny because people, I get in my like bio, I have that I was on the Home and Garden channel.
Yeah.
So that's like a really commonly asked question.
Yeah.
But I feel like my answer is not as cool as yours, where it's like I was on it for,
Yeah.
you know, like 59 seconds probably or something or maybe, you know, a minute and a half, but where I was the $250,000 house once where that's cool where you guys have your own
Yeah.
crazy.
show coming.
It's a wild ride, so stay tuned.
Yeah, we're excited. It'll be a glimpse into
our business.
Hawaii and into our business. And I think we do tell a very authentic story. So yeah.
Yeah, because that's when before we started recording, I was saying what I know people will be interested in, where we haven't had anybody on the podcast who has a single family flip business.
Yep.
Even you know, not a lot of people doing creative financing, just more kind of middle of the like just regular bread and butter real estate investing.
Yep.
You know, I bought a duplex, then it went well, so we sold it, bought a 4-unit. Like that's most you know, probably the most common like guest or kind of path or listener
Right.
I've got. But then also too, like no one's done any deals in Hawaii. So that, you know, to talk about what owning property rights,
Yep.
what the real estate market's like, I guess to kind of start, like I've heard but not looked into, you know, like a lot of the land, or, you know, someone said all of it, which I'm sure was hyperbole, but is, you know, it's all, you have to lease it from somebody.
Right.
How does it work here?
Yeah. So, I mean, man, we have a very unique relationship with land and with the United States. But before Hawaii was a state, there was no such thing as land ownership. So we had things, they were actually called ahupua'a, and it was basically from the mountain all the way down to the sea, and it was carved out, and there's a bunch of ahupua'a on Oahu, and there was a chief there that ruled, but nobody owned the land.
It was more of like a barter system. You need something, I have something. That's how you survived.
Right.
Within each
Yes.
section
Ahupua'a.
that the chief controlled.
Yeah, so like the farmers in the mountain would farm, kalo, poi, you've probably heard of poi, and a bunch of other stuff. And then the fishermen down by the sea would fish, and then the fishermen would trade with the farmers. And it was like a big cohesive
Interesting.
culture. And so, but nobody had ownership of land.
People
there was
had houses or structures they lived in, but it was just sort of
It was more community.
communal. Yeah. So that's kind of where we were. We didn't get land ownership until the Great Mahele, and it was an introduction to what land ownership was by outsiders, right? But then again, United States comes in. Obviously, during that time when that happened, Hawaii was basically a bunch of businessmen that came here that started plantations. And so you've probably heard like sugar plantation. That was like the industry back then. And there was a few families that basically started those plantations and ran everything.
Kind of made Hawaii into what it is today.
Right.
Honestly. Yeah.
I mean, the Campbells, Alexander and Baldwin, there's very like well-known established names, but they ended up buying a lot of the land.
And how did they acquire it though? Who are they buying it from?
Just took it.
Well, that from the kings and queens, like a lot of the land was from that, right? Like when the Great Mahele happened, the land got split up, right? And that's when like a lot of it went to
Those families were like, I'm going to buy up all of it.
yeah.
But what are they paying?
Majority.
Nobody. They're just saying, I own it now.
I mean, I wouldn't know exactly who they were exactly paying, but they ended up with a lot of the land. Another huge landowner was Kamehameha Schools because Princess Pauahi Bishop was royalty and she was a princess. She owned a lot of the land. So a lot of the Ali'i also had land as well if they didn't sell it off. And those are just kings and queens or royalty, right? And so a lot of the history ended up being these people that owned all of this land didn't ever want to sell the land, but they would lease the lands out in like 100-year leases. And so tons of Hawaiian, as far as land goes, was just leasehold property up into a long, I think probably until like the 80s was a lot of leasehold. What happened was the government came in and they said, hey, we're enacting a law that says that people should be able to buy the fee simple rights to this land. So they forced all of these people and big companies to actually sell the fees. So over the last 30 years, a lot of the leasehold has gone away.
Yeah.
There is still leasehold properties. And on the leasehold property, the owner owns the land underneath and the person that's on the property just owns the house.
So a lot of times when you see leasehold still available, it's for very low cost. People are like, oh my gosh, this is a deal in Hawaii, but you don't really own the land. So
you're a tenant and you built your house on it and you own it, but
what happens when the lease is up?
When the lease is up, it goes back. There's a lot of commercial real estate here where the Weinberg Foundation is one foundation that owns a ton of land here, and they own the land underneath, and these big hotels will come in and they'll build their hotel on top of the land. But the Weinberg owns all the land. Do you know what I mean?
In commercial.
There's a lot of ground lease deals.
Yeah.
For
Exactly.
the best corner at the shopping center, you still own it, but then you do a ground lease with like a bank or McDonald's or somebody.
Totally.
So this is like on a bigger scale.
So that's like a much bigger sale. So like I said, a lot of the land, the leasehold properties have converted into fee simple over the last 30 or so years. And so they're not as common, but it's crazy because you never hear this in other places.
No.
Like everybody asks me all the time, what is leasehold here in Hawaii? Because you'll find a lot of it still here.
Which is also not common in other places than it is here because of all of that. A lot of our value is in the land because now it only became recently available for ownership or purchase, not that long ago. And so a lot of our value in Hawaii is in the land, not in the structure. So like on this house, what are our numbers on this house?
Yeah. So like on this house, it appraised at 1.75. The land is worth close to 1.3 million. It's like 1.275. And that's where most of the value is. So that's similar to everywhere. Like I know it's opposite in a lot of other places where the value is actually in the structure. The land is fairly cheap. You know what I mean?
That's interesting. Yeah, that in Chicago it was kind of like that, where there's like your average city lot was worth $700,000-$800,000 in the nice neighborhoods. Yeah, but then any house that's worth less than that, it's just a tear down. It's negative. It's worth more if it wasn't there.
Right.
So then what's interesting is every house then in those nice neighborhoods of Chicago, it's like $1.5 million or $2 million house, obviously, because you're not going to buy a $700,000 lot and then put up like a $200,000
Right.
A little kit.
So you're going all out on the finishes and everything and ceiling heights. And so it seems kind of similar here where if all your renovations are, nearing a $2 million price point, like you're not buying a $600 refrigerator for it. Like your most cookie cutter, whatever the Fortune Builder blueprint is, that's buying a house probably for at the time, $220,000, which is the average price in the mainland. And then we're going to put, money into it and it'll be worth in the high 200, 300s,
Yep. Yep.
Exactly.
100%.
Well, you hit flipping in Hawaii on the nail.
I mean, this is what it would be like flipping in like some of these big cities then actually, if
Yes.
you were doing this in like LA or
Yes, exactly.
Very similar.
it's
Yeah.
kind of similar numbers.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, we see a lot of similarity with like areas in Southern California, in areas like LA.
Yeah.
There's
San Diego.
very similar numbers.
I can see that. I mean, is there anything else? I mean, with the property ownership, I mean, that's unique with Hawaii, because I mean that was my number one thing I was curious about.
Yeah.
That and then deal flow,
Yeah.
which you answered, where
Yeah.
because I thought this was and we were saying this before we recorded, where like, yeah, I live by Dallas and we also buy in Phoenix. Those
Yeah.
are two of the top largest MSAs in the country. There's
Yeah.
millions of people in each one.
Yeah.
There's plenty of like apartment deals to look at. Whereas here, it's like there's not, like you drive around when you're talking about the west part of the
West
island,
side?
I'm like,
Yeah.
there's not barely any jobs over there. Like no wonder why
Yeah.
houses are cheaper, but
Yep.
there's just not a lot here. So to generate
Leads
that
consistently.
many leads, that's a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I mean, maybe anything else on Hawaii that with property ownership that we didn't touch on?
Yeah. I mean, I think that the one thing that I would say about property ownership is that it is there's a very emotional connection to property here. A lot of times the houses that we're buying have been passed down from generations, maybe 6 times, and it stayed in the family. And so a very like deep connection to these houses, as opposed to some other areas, and I won't speak for all of them, where it's more of a transaction. There's so much that goes into buying
Doing
these
real
properties.
estate here is very relationship based, and it's not transaction based.
Yeah,
For
because when I think of people who've owned houses the longest, I mean, it's probably my parents, where they owned a house for almost 30 years. As
Yeah.
terms of like someone in the mainland that I can think like who owned it the longest, like there was no passing down or anything. They just, when they wanted a bigger, newer house, they just
Yep.
sold it and bought a different one.
Totally.
We had a cabin in our family, like a lake house that
Yeah.
they're just selling now, but it made it like one generation passed down.
Yeah.
And then like the kids had it until they were in their 70s, but now
Yep.
they're selling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's for 6 generations. Yeah, that would, even this cabin we're selling, everyone's sad about it.
Exactly.
I mean, I went there as a kid every summer all the time. I wanted to
totally.
bring my son there, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
weren't able to. But so, I mean, yeah, imagine if then that continued for 5 more generations. Like how
Right.
crazy that would be.
Exactly.
Plus, it would be, are there a lot of people to deal with to buy these? Because that's also one thing we're running into at the cabin was, so yeah, my grandpa, he had 3 kids, so then they owned it. But now those 3 kids had, I have to add it up, but let's say like 9 total kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now there's going to be where I would own a 9th of this cabin and then just keep going.
Yeah. It still gets hard.
Do you run into that? on these deals you're
100%.
buying?
Yeah. A lot of the times. So most of the deals that we're buying, there's a lot of them that are inherited houses. And what ends up happening is there's 7 people that have ownership rights to this house, and 4 of them want to keep it, but the other ones don't want to keep it. They bicker over it, and then they end up having to sell it. That can be a very hard struggle to navigate,
Yeah.
right? Especially when there's people that feel like they're being forced into selling and having to cooperate with them. But that's very, very common here.
Yeah.
And then legally, would you need all 7 to sign?
Yes. Yeah.
Or you
A lot of
or
times,
you can do a partition sale, but yes.
right? A lot of times there'll be an executor, but our culture is like it's crazy that even though that one executor has the power to sign, they still want to make sure that their family is
They
happy.
want everybody's blessing.
Right.
too,
They want the
you know?
blessing. And so it normally is like can be a pretty drawn out process.
Yeah.
And
Another-
take a lot of work, but yeah, it happens pretty often.
Yeah. So other things to note with just owning real estate here is our property taxes are high. Our cost of living is high. And we are not a landlord friendly state. So it's very hard if you run into a situation where you have a non-paying tenant. You have to go through the courts. It's a very long process. So it's not that fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of states like that, but they end up a lot of times being some of the better ones to invest in if you still have people moving there. But I mean,
Yeah.
like the reason, like in part, prices got so high in like New York City, let's say, is they had rent control.
Yeah.
So you have thousands of apartments that now no one's going to move out of.
Right.
So now that puts way more demand.
Yeah.
Or it's the demand that should be on the whole market is on just a few non-rent controlled units.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Speaking of that,
yeah.
we're an appreciation market. We are not a cash flow market. It's very hard to cash flow here because our rents do not keep up with
Our prices. Yeah.
our mortgages, our cost of living. And so in order to really cash flow here, you have to basically turn a single family into multiple units so that you therefore can cash flow. So it's definitely not, it's harder to cash flow here than people think.
Yeah, and I think because I saw some people do it in those big cities like LA, where it's really they're putting more than 50% down, and they are. It's not the first generation doing this anymore. This were the people that bought these things for $100,000. Now it's worth $4 million, and I know these don't make as much financial sense, but I have so much cash flow now, and I'm just gonna buy one or two of these, deals every year,
Right.
and that's all they're doing. And so, I mean, that seems like how Hawaii would work as well, where you keep buying, renovating, selling homes, getting that into multifamily, but then it's going to take a long time to where you're turning that money over, buying more.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good place to park capital if you're looking to depreciate some of your money,
Yeah,
but not for cash flow.
Well, I think it's that, and we appreciate a lot here. So, like, if even now in like our business, if we'll find a deal that is like a break even, it makes sense for us to keep it. You know what I mean?
As a rental, if it breaks even.
As a rental, if it breaks even, just because
in a couple years, and we can tap into that equity. You know.
Yeah. So then that's interesting. But then what's happening like right now in 2023 with home prices? Because most places they're dropping.
Yeah.
What's happening then?
Yeah, I think so. In Hawaii, we're also very unique. We haven't seen a huge dip in prices at all. There are some areas where the home prices have dropped a little bit, but just like a few percent. What has happened is like longer days on market in those areas. So say our average day on market in Oahu in general was less than a week.
Wow.
During COVID. Now in those areas, we're talking about like 30 to 45 day on market.
Yeah.
Which sounds crazy to some people because that's still very short time.
Yeah.
But it's a dramatic change from what we were COVID times. But that being said, in the markets that we are in, which we're mostly on the windward side of Oahu,
Central.
Eastern Central. We haven't seen a decline in prices at all. Our last 3 houses have sold, some for all cash within the first week.
Wow.
And so
over ask.
Yeah, we have an all-time shortage of supply in Hawaii.
There's still supply and demand. We have a housing shortage, so
and
we're not making any more land.
we're on an island, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we're not seeing what a lot of other places. I know Arizona got hit probably
hard.
one of the worst places, right?
It went up the most.
It went up the most,
so then it had room to fall.
Yeah, totally.
But because a lot of the markets, some parts of Arizona, Vegas, Florida, it's really up and down.
Right.
And so when it goes down, it goes down.
Hard.
Texas is kind of the one outlier in the Sun Belt of the growing places where it's very steady. Yeah, I mean, it still goes down. Where these places that don't drop, that's very rare. Even California prices drop.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was not like that, but we did a bunch of research, and it is.
It is actually.
California is pretty volatile up and down. Where I thought it was just kind of steady up because how it gets so expentive, But that must have happened a long time ago. No, that's interesting. Yeah, and I'm personally I'm surprised you can find as many deals as you guys are.
Yeah,
and then you're not with what you said, the parts of the island. You're not even doing deals in Honolulu, then really, or were you?
We do very few. Very few deals in Honolulu. No deals out on the west side or Eva Beach or Makakilo or Kapolei. So that whole side,
but
we've done before.
But 20 or 17 or because we like these cities, and they're very hard for me to pronounce, but they are really small. I mean, for when I look at them, like this is at
So
the rate
put it
you
this
guys
way.
are going, you're gonna have
There's
a fifth of the houses.
I know.
We'll take it.
There is approximately 400,000 addresses on Oahu. That just because we market here, right? And what we have realized is that the easiest way for us to do it is pull every single address and we just mass market to everybody. That's just what we do.
Yeah.
And so there's about 400,000 addresses. We're doing 30 deals a year. Most of those are coming from our marketing. This is the key thing. When we started marketing, when I would talk to these sellers that would raise their hand, I was the first person that they had ever talked to like me.
Yeah.
There wasn't a ton of people marketing at all. The other thing is, over the last 4 years, there has been an uptick in people starting to market here. A lot of other companies have come in and started to do it. But the defining factor, I would say, for our company is who we are. I think more than anywhere else that I've ever been, who you are in Hawaii matters. And what I mean by that is because of what we were talking about earlier with these generational pass downs of houses, people want to know who they're selling the property to. And a lot of times they want to sell to a local. That's just what it comes down to.
That makes sense.
And so our family has been here for generations and generations. My dad has 11 brothers and sisters on the windward side. I have 87 first cousins in Kailua alone. Our family is humongous. The other side is that my dad worked very, very hard. He had a awesome story. Had 11 brothers and sisters. They grew up in a 1-bedroom, 800 square foot house in Kailua.
All of them?
All of them.
14 people?
Yes.
Yes, all of them. And were dirt poor. But he went to school, went to college. He started out as a teller at First Hawaiian Bank, that bank we were talking about.
Yeah.
Worked there for 30 years to an executive senior vice president. He then went on to become Kamehameha Schools, what we were talking about, Bishop Estate trustee, so one of their trustees. And then from there, he went to become the president of the Weinberg Foundation.
Wow.
And so
the Hawaii
he's
sector.
and so he's been on a very successful track, which has also brought a lot of credibility to our last name, you know? And so when I'm going out on these appointments, I say my last name and they immediately know who I am.
Yeah.
They know who my family is. They know that we come from a reputable family. And because it's very relationship based, I don't have to do a lot of that upfront work of convincing someone that I can actually buy their house.
Yeah.
You know?
And odds are they know your cousin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Odds are that we're okay. This is crazy. There's a house 6 houses down,
Give
I
or
think,
take,
on this street.
We're in escrow to buy right
We're
now.
in escrow to buy. That came from a referral, but when I went out on the appointment, we figure out that we're related.
Yeah.
And
This
that's
is
a story
common.
that
This
happened.
is very common.
I mean, I'm not surprised. 87 cousins.
Yeah.
Right.
This is-
It's wild.
We're at 100 plus people.
But that's what doing real estate in Hawaii is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel like a lot of our deal flow is because we market very consistently. We do that. We're dialing 1,500 dials a day. We send out 1,500 text messages a day, and we do that 6 days a week. So we're very consistent with figuring out who the people are. But then what gets our deals closed is also who we are.
Yeah.
And being able to, you know what I mean? Obviously you need some sales skills, but that's what comes into.
Yeah, because the virtual assistants, they get when the leads come in, so they do the outreach.
Yep.
Then they get it to this sales manager. I forgot their term, but
The lead manager here, that is a local here.
Then he'll do the first phone call.
He does the triage call, and then he'll do every follow-up call until they're ready to. His goal is to set an appointment,
And then you go.
and then
Then
I
he
go to
gets
the
tapped
appointment.
in.
Do you go with him?
I go with him.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Because I'm
So you
training
should
him
bring
to
him if he's
hopefully one day
Take over.
I don't have to do it anymore. You know what I mean? And he can do it.
Who knows if that day will ever come?
I enjoy doing it still, you know,
Exactly.
and 30 deals isn't 300 deals. So it's not like my whole schedule is just going on appointments, you know, like we'll go on maybe 5 appointments a week.
Yeah.
And so it's still fun for me.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, nice. Because then how, I'm surprised that are any of the virtual assistants in Hawaii then, or where are they?
Yeah. So our VAs are in the Philippines and in Egypt. Yeah.
And that they can do the phones okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They wouldn't want a Hawaiian calling them?
That's the thing.
Start, though?
Well, so what we have found, and it's been really through trial and error, is the VAs are going to be the most consistent with the calls. And on the very first call, how we have our system set up, they're not trying to create any kind of rapport at all.
Okay.
It's literally just, have you ever thought about selling your house for cash? If they say yes, they don't figure out condition, motivation, price, nothing. It immediately goes to our lead guy who will connect with them. He's local. He's here.
Yeah.
Because it matters so much.
Yeah, this is just filtering.
Just
Yeah.
filtering.
Okay. Exactly.
Yep, totally.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd like to start doing something on the apartment side. It's just hard to get people like me to talk to a VA.
You need to connect
or
with
even-
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we should talk about
Yeah.
Yeah.
the systems in more detail. But yeah, that is,
100%.
I'd like to do that, but it's always seemed hard to get these owners.
Well, you guys are like sophisticated, right? Like, have normally these owners have experience in the real estate space, and then they get a call from like a VA in the Philippines and almost just shut it off
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
That's
give you
what
the
I
time of day.
That's what I would assume.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
then, but there still might be owners where they just kind of came into the property.
Yep.
They inherited it or something. They don't
Totally.
know what's going on. But
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think this was really interesting.
Yeah,
So
man.
Let's leave it there. How do
Yeah.
people get in touch with you, or where do they go for the show when that comes out?
Oh yeah, I mean, you can go to you can go to @Kamohai and Tristyn on all social media platforms. That is the best way to find us. You know, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and that's where you can find out about the show when we can talk about it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Great job, guys.
Thanks
Right
for
on,
having
man.
us.
Thanks you so much. Yeah.
Bye.
Right on.
Thank you.
If you learned something from today's show, leave a review and hit that subscribe button wherever you enjoy your podcasts. Dive deeper into real estate investing on Breneman Capital's website, breneman.com, where we have numerous free resources and information that can help both active and passive real estate investors. Accredited investors can get started today as a passive investor in our multifamily investment opportunities by hitting the Invest Now button on our website.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of Drew Breneman and guests as of the date of recording and do not purport to reflect the views or opinions of Breneman Capital LLC and its subsidiaries. Views and opinions are provided for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon or deemed as investment or tax advice or an offer to buy or sell securities. The speaker cannot be held responsible for any direct or incidental loss incurred by applying any of the information offered.